Caradron Overlord Arcanauts are privateers who scour the skies in search of ether gold and adventure, and in this video we're going to show you how to paint one of these miniatures in the colours of the skyport Barak Nar. We're going to be using the classic paint method, and we're also going to paint it up to battle ready. Now, as with any Citadel miniature, the first thing you need to do is undercoat your model, and for this one I've gone for Xandri Dust, which you can see I've sprayed the model with just here. This is a great starting point for this model because all the straps and belts are Xandri Dust to begin with, so by going with this spray undercoat we've actually already painted all those details. You can of course choose to undercoat your model by hand if you want to, using Chaos Black spray, but if you do so, just make sure you paint all those belts with Xandri Dust before you start following along with our guide. Now, the first paint that we need is Barak Nar Burgundy, and I'm going to be applying this using a medium layer brush. And what you want to do, and you'll see me do throughout this video, is use a palette, and I recommend you do the same. What you do is just get some of your paint and put it onto the palette like this, because it allows you to add a touch of water into the mix, which thins the paint down. And this gives you more control over where the paint goes, and it means it goes further, and also it'll dry smoother as well. So it's a really useful thing to do. So once your paint's thinned down to this kind of consistency, just drag your brush along and twist it to get rid of excess paint and bring the bristles to a nice point, and then you're ready to start painting the undersuit of the miniature. So we're looking at this area that's in between all the straps around here. As I said earlier, we have already got those straps painted with Xandri Dust, so you want to do your best to avoid those details, but don't worry about anything else at this stage. If you do happen to catch the straps as you're applying this colour though, just neaten those up with Xandri Dust before you continue. Once you've finished painting that undersuit, you're then ready to move on to applying all the remaining base colours to the model. And first of all, we're going to be applying Lead Belcher for all the silver details, such as the armour, then moving on to Balthazar Gold for all the bronze details. Now after this, we can paint in all the more decorative elements on the model using Retributor armour, and then finally we'll need Corvus Black for any bits of black leather on the model. So first of all then we need Lead Belcher, and I'm going to be applying this using a medium base brush because these details are a bit larger and easier to get to than the previous colour. But as before, just use the palette to get your paint ready by adding a touch of water to it like this, and once you've done so, you're now ready to start picking out all that silver detail. So a lot of it's going to be the armour, which is mostly around the top of the model, so things like these shoulder plates, and then we've got this metal collar going around here, and also this part going down around the arms. But at this stage, a small detail to make sure you catch is the eye lenses, so be sure to paint those silver as well. Next we're ready to add some Balthazar Gold for the bronze details, and for this we're looking at some of the filters on the gas mask just around here, and also some of the detail on the backpack. Next we can move on to Retributor armour for all the decorative elements on the miniature. So these will be things such as the face mask around here, going up on the nose and around the eye lenses, but also you're looking for anything like the runes on the belt just here and the hilt of the sword. And finally, paint all the black leather detail using Corvus Black. In this case, it's going to be the boots of the miniature and also the grip of the sword. We've now finished applying all the base colours to the miniature and can move on to adding some shade to it. And we're going to be using Nuln Oil for this, but we're actually going to be using two different versions of it. First of all, we need Nuln Oil Gloss, and this is going to be for all the metallic details of the armour to keep them shiny. And then we're going to use regular Nuln Oil, so the matte version, for all the clothing. So first of all then, with Nuln Oil Gloss, I'm going to be applying this using a medium layer brush because we just want to be a little bit controlled as to where exactly we're applying this. So I'm going to use the palette to help with that. You don't need to water shade down at all, but having it on the palette means you can control better where exactly you're placing it and how much you have on your brush. So make sure the brush isn't overloaded, and then what we're looking to do is to paint this onto all the metallic details. So for example, the entire head is metallic, so I'm going to paint it all over there like that, but as I get close to all the leather straps here and the undersuit, I'm just going to be much more careful, just keeping it on the silver parts only. And once that's dry, then move on to using regular Nuln Oil and use this to shade over all of the leather, the undersuit and also the boots. And there we are with the shading done. All we need to do is add some texture to the base, and for this we're going to use Agrellan Badland, and for this kind of texture paint what you need is a texture tool to apply it. And to do this, what you do is get a scoop of the paint on a little shovel side like this, then on your base just look for an open spot, so usually at the front's a good place for it, and all you do is just put this paint on like that and then start moving it around the base up towards the miniature. Now when you get close to the model's feet, switch around to the narrower side so you have a little bit more control and go all the way up to the model's feet like this. Now once you've finished applying this to the top of the base, give the model about an hour to dry, and then all you've got to do is paint the base's rim. And for this model, I'm going to use Steel Legion Drab. And with that texture paint completely dry and the rim of the base painted, this Arcanaut from Barak Nar is battle ready. So when you're painting this miniature in this colour scheme, the real key thing to remember is when you're using the shades, because remember we used two different shades even though they were the same colour. The gloss for the metallic armour and the matte for all the clothing. So when you're applying these shades, remember to use an appropriately sized brush to make sure that you get to all the detail that you want. And as you are applying the shade, make sure your brush isn't overloaded so you can be as neat as possible. But really that's the key thing to remember, so have fun painting your Barak Nar Arkanauts, and we'll see you all again soon.